At the beginning of the story, we are told that hundreds of years ago, humans and trolls lived together peacefully. Gradually, Christianity spread across Europe, and people began turning away from old tradition. The king of Norway, Olav, ordered his soldiers to drag the trolls out of their caves and expose them to sunlight. The sun's UV rays turned the trolls into stone. Soldiers hunted trolls all across the country and killed them, and eventually trolls began fearing anything connected to Christianity. After this widespread massacre, not a single troll was seen anywhere in the world. This story is being told by a father to his young daughter at night. The girl grows up to become a scientist and starts researching trolls. About 30 years later, the story shifts to a cabin in the mountain where a strange man arrives. As he enters and looks around, Nora suddenly attacks him and is about to stab him with a knife, but then realizes he is her colleague, Andreas. She stops immediately. Andreas notices many old books on the table and asks Nora what she is researching. Nora refuses to tell him. Andreas explains that he needs her help because 3 years ago, thanks to Nora's intelligence, the army managed to defeat a giant troll in the mountain. Nora was part of the National Troll Commission, but she quit when she realized the new government was just as corrupt as the previous one. Among Nora's belongings, Andreas finds a book he himself had written and dedicated to Nora's father, who died during the last troll attack. Nora thanks him for that. Andreas then asks her to come with him, saying he will show her something unbelievable. Nora agrees. During a helicopter ride, Andreas makes Nora sign a contract stating that she cannot reveal anything she's about to see. Instead of signing her real name, Nora writes random nonsense. Soon they arrive at a power station where they meet Professor Mahler and Wenzel, who were also involved in the previous troll case. Professor Mahler takes Nora through a secret tunnel and reveals that years ago they captured a troll named Jotun. Nora sees him standing there. Scientists are researching him inside a lab secured with UV lights. Soon, project leader Marion arrives and tells Nora that she never wanted to pull her back into this mess. But since the project has made no progress and the government is about to shut it down, they had no choice. Marion explains that Jotun is currently in hibernation, a deep sleep with only his heartbeat active. DNA analysis shows that trolls are genetically closer to plants than humans. Later, Andreas introduces Nora to Sigrid, who had survived the previous troll attack. Andreas and Sigrid later married, and now Sigrid is pregnant. The room is filled with books about trolls, including the king's original decree ordering their extermination. One part of the document is missing, but it clearly suggests that trolls were legally expelled from the land. Everyone believes many trolls may still be hiding across Norway, and that's why they need Nora's help. Nora excuses herself, saying she needs the bathroom, but secretly goes to Jotun's chamber. She rides a lift up to his face, gently touches his nose, and hums a song. At first, nothing happened. Then suddenly, the heartbeat monitor spikes. As Nora steps off the lift, Jotun wakes up and looks at her. Everyone rushes into the room. Jotun is chained, but he begins breaking free. Muller orders the UV lights to be turned on. However, Marion does not want the troll to die. She deliberately spills coffee on the control panel. Sparks fly, the UV lights shut down, and Jotun breaks his chains and rampages through the facility. He attacks the elevator and throws Nora away violently. She is badly hurt but survives. At the last second, Andreas opens the elevator door and pulls her out. Muller grabs a troll sample and escapes. Jotun destroys the lab, and Wenzel is crushed under his feet and killed. The survivors flee through the emergency exit. Outside, Jotun smashes the building, looks at them briefly, and then disappears into the forest. A helicopter takes the team to an Air Force base, where they meet their old friend Chris, now a major. In the meeting room, Nora and Marion argue. Marion believes Jotun could have been controlled better, while Nora disagrees. The Prime Minister, Brinchman, enters and says he always believed this project was too dangerous. Marion wants to capture Jotun again for further research, but Nora insists that such creatures cannot be controlled. The Prime Minister states that civilian safety comes first and orders the army to kill the troll. Nora becomes furious, saying they already killed an innocent troll last time. The PM responds that his own brother died in the last attack and that troll was not innocent. After the meeting, Andreas notices Nora holding a piece of troll stone from the previous attack. She keeps it as a reminder of her guilt. Andreas comforts her, saying mistakes happen and we grow by learning from them. Nora is moved by his words. She then takes Andreas to Chris's war room. Chris presents an attack plan. Nora insists on joining the mission. Chris refuses at first, but when Nora reminds him that her father died in the last attack, he emotionally agrees. Marion also joins the mission. The army equips helicopters with UV lights. Meanwhile, we see a ski resort where people are partying. Suddenly, the ground shakes. A disco ball falls. People laugh and record videos until Jotun smashes through the roof and looks inside. Panic erupts. The building collapses. People are injured, and Jotun grabs and eats several humans. Helicopters arrive and activate UV lights, burning Jotun's skin. 2 attacks succeed, but then Jotun throws a massive electric pole, smashing one helicopter. Over the radio, the pilot says proudly, "It was an honor serving with you, sir," before crashing and dying along with everyone aboard. Chris loses his closest friend and, enraged, attempts a direct attack despite his damaged helicopter. Nora begs him to stop. Chris stares at Jotun, but the troll retreats into the distance. Later, Chris visits the crash site to honor his fallen friend. Andreas struggles to believe trolls can be so cruel. Nora explains that the previous troll wasn't like this. It only wanted to go home. She believes Jotun behaves this way because humans have always mistreated trolls. Andreas asks if it's possible to communicate with Jotun. Nora replies that she knows someone who can help. The scene ends with a man whose house was destroyed in the previous attack. He had finally rebuilt it. Suddenly, the table shakes. His dog starts barking, and moments later, Jotun arrives, stepping on the house and destroying it once again. Meanwhile, Nora and her friends reached a restricted military area. Using a broken fence, they managed to get inside. Soon, they arrived at a cave where Andreas noticed something sticky on the wall. Nora explained that it was a trap once used to kill the Troll King. Humans had kidnapped his child and hidden it there so that the Troll King would fall into the pit and die. Christian symbols were carved all over the cave walls to cause maximum damage. Nora revealed that the Troll King had survived this trap. He was the same troll they fought 3 years ago. When they reached a massive chasm, Nora tapped the Troll King's stone on the ground and told everyone not to panic. Suddenly, a troll appeared before them. Nora explained that this was the real child of the Troll King, the one used as bait years ago. Over the past 3 years, Nora had visited this cave many times so the troll could recognize her and begin trusting her. She handed the troll his father's stone. The troll sniffed it, and Nora gently touched his nose. As she hummed softly, the troll responded with happy sound. Andreas was shocked to see this, but Nora taught him how to do the same. Andreas touched the troll's nose and hummed slightly, and the troll seemed pleased with him too. Since the child had no name, Nora named him Beautiful. Then things turned serious, and Nora asked for his help. Later, outside the cave, Nora saw Jotun approaching and fired a flare gun into the air. Suddenly, Beautiful rose from beneath the snow, and both trolls began growling at each other. Andreas wanted to attack, but Marion stopped him. As Beautiful roared, Jotun stomped the ground hard, causing the ice to crack. Nora ran with all her strength, but slipped and fell. Chris picked her up, but Beautiful couldn't escape in time. As the ice broke, he fell into the freezing water below. For a few seconds, he struggled to stay afloat, but eventually he drowned. After that, Jotun advanced toward the group, forcing everyone to run toward the helicopter. As the helicopter took off, Jotun tried to bring it down, but luckily they escaped. Watching her friend die like that shattered Nora. She kept staring at the spot where Beautiful had drowned. Back at the base, Nora told Marion that once she had brought Beautiful outside, he didn't destroy anything. He simply sat quietly, watched the stars for a while, and then returned to his cave, where he felt safe. They then examined a map showing Jotun's route. Marion explained that this path was called the Pilgrim's Route, leading north to Nidaros. Nora checked her notes and recalled her father's stories. Back then, Nidaros was the king's capital, ruled by King Olav. This meant Jotun wanted revenge. They then met a woman named Esther, an old friend of Nora's father. Esther showed them the Nidaros Cathedral, built between the years 1000 and 1300, later known as the Heart of Norway, essentially the headquarters of the church at the time. Before entering the church, Chris left his weapons outside. Nora said she wanted to see King Olav's grave. Esther took them through an underground tunnel. Esther said she often wondered why the church would have King Olav killed, even though he was so important to them. Perhaps there had been a conflict between them. They soon reached an empty chamber. Esther explained that people had searched for the grave for years but found nothing. Marion noticed the same markings on the wall that they had seen in the cave. They began investigating and found a painting of King Olav. When Andreas touched it, a small piece fell off, revealing a hole in Olav's stomach. Esther recalled that in Olav's final battle, he had been wounded in the stomach, leg, and neck. When she touched those spots, more sections of the wall fell away. Nora placed torches inside all the holes and began rotating them. Sounds of movement came from inside the wall. When all 3 torches completed their rotation, a hidden door opened, which Andreas fully pushed open. Inside, they found King Olav's tomb surrounded by water. Nora wanted to open the grave, but Esther objected, saying it would be disrespectful. Nora insisted that this was an emergency. Together, they removed the heavy lid. Inside lay Olav's skeleton, holding a silver sword. The sword wasn't rusted, but being made of silver, it wouldn't have been very effective in battle. In Olav's pocket, they found the remaining piece of his royal order. They exited and sent photos of the document to Sigrid. At the Institute, Sigrid combined it with the missing fragment. Finally, they could read the complete order. It revealed that King Olav was actually against killing or exiling the trolls. The church had him killed so they could continue exterminating the troll. This meant Jotun was not seeking revenge against Olav. He was seeking revenge against all of humanity. Meanwhile, videos of the ski resort resort attack, and the destroyed house went viral. Footage of the trolls spread across global media. Governments worldwide panicked. People began saying such creatures should not be allowed to exist. They were a threat to humans. Soon after, Prime Minister Brinchman held a press conference, urging everyone living along the pilgrim's route to evacuate immediately. When reporters asked, "Evacuation isn't a solution? What is your actual plan?" The Prime Minister had no answer. Chris was ordered to return to base, but he ignored the message and chose to stand by his friend. They began wondering what King Olaf might have used to fight trolls, since silver alone wasn't powerful enough. Suddenly, Nora had an idea. She dipped a knife into holy water and then touched the Troll King's stone. The stone instantly cracked into 2 pieces. This proved that trolls are vulnerable to holy water. Chris and Marion then approached evacuated residents and asked for their help. Everyone willingly stepped forward to save their country. As Esther taught Andreas how to ring the church bells, military trucks formed a line near the pond. Soldiers filled buckets with holy water and loaded it into their weapons. By evening, Jotun finally arrived. As he moved toward the church, he destroyed several buildings along the way. Esther and Andreas began ringing the bells. The sound of the church bells began to hurt Jotun's ears, and his movements slowed down significantly. The soldiers then opened fire. When bullets soaked in holy water hit Jotun's body, he slowly started feeling pain. In rage, Jotun picked up a huge tree and threw it at the church. The bells were destroyed, but Andreas and Esther somehow managed to escape in time. The soldiers kept firing, but the effect of the holy water was not as powerful as they had expected. Despite everything, Jotun continued moving forward. At that moment, Chris detonated several bombs planted on the ground all at once. This time, the troll was badly injured, but he was still alive. Everyone began running as Jotun started advancing toward them. Suddenly, a loud roar echoed, and Jotun stopped. Everyone was shocked to see that Beautiful had returned, fully ready to fight. Both trolls entered the river, and a fierce battle began. Jotun landed a powerful punch on Beautiful and threw him onto the bridge. The bridge broke, and Beautiful fell into the water. Nora wanted to save her friend but couldn't figure out what to do. Then Marion had an idea. Jotun's heart was still beating. That meant it had to be soft. His outer skin was tough, but they needed to attack him from the inside so the holy water could damage his heart. They only had 1 bomb left, so they had to be extremely careful. Jotun, in a rage, brutally attacked Beautiful in the river, using nearby objects as weapons. Chris and Andreas boarded the helicopter. Nora and Marion ran forward and started firing at Jotun. It didn't cause much damage, but it distracted him. Beautiful was still trapped in the water, pinned under Jotun's foot. Chris maneuvered the helicopter around the troll, but suddenly the bomb began slipping out. At the last moment, Andreas somehow grabbed it. However, the remote used to activate the bomb fell down and broke. Now there was only one way left to detonate it, using a grenade, but that meant someone had to jump down with the bomb. Andreas immediately understood what he had to do. He called Sigrid and said goodbye one last time, but before the call could finish, the connection was lost. At the same time, Beautiful lost consciousness, and Nora and Marion ran out of bullets. Marion retreated, but Nora refused to give up. The helicopter hovered above Jotun's head. Andreas jumped out with the bomb and grenade. Jotun swallowed both Andreas and the bomb. Moments later, the grenade exploded, spreading holy water throughout Jotun's body. Even his hardened skin began to burn, and he grew extremely weak from the pain. Seizing this moment, Beautiful stood up with all his strength. He thrust his hand into Jotun's chest and pulled out his heart. As soon as the heart was removed, Jotun's body collapsed into the river and slowly disintegrated. Sometime later, the church reconstruction began. Esther opened an exhibition that revealed the true story of King Olaf to the world. Sigrid gave birth to a beautiful baby, and Chris spent time happily playing with the child. Beautiful was granted permission to live freely in the mountains to protect the country. He often visited Nora near her cabin. And with this, the story comes to an end. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next amazing story. Take care. Bye.